Destiny's Gift by Natasha Anastasia Tarpley, illustrated by Anjo J. Burrows. Close read the illustration on the front cover. How are the two characters looking at each other? What's your prediction? Do you think they like each other? Are they good friends? What is a gift? What type of gift do you think Destiny will have? And let's focus on our big question. Why is it important to help your community? My favorite place in the world was Mrs. Wade's bookstore across the street from my house. Mrs. Wade knew everything there was to know about words, and I loved words. I went over to Mrs. Wade's every Tuesday and Saturday. As soon as I walked into the store, the wind chimes above the door tinkled a special hello. "Hey there, Destiny," Mrs. Wade would call out, and stop whatever she was doing to give me a big hug. She smelled like flowers and peppermint, and had long silver dreadlocks that fell to her waist. "What's the word?" Mrs. Wade would ask. "Let's go find out," I would say. We'd rush over to the big, thick dictionary Mrs. Wade kept on a pedestal in the store. I'd close my eyes, open the dictionary, and point. Whatever word my finger landed on was our word for the day. Mrs. Wade always helped me with words I didn't understand. When I wasn't writing words, I was reading them, gobbling them up from the pages of books as if they were candy. Mrs. Wade always gave me new books to read. She even introduced me to real authors who came to read their books in her store. I liked to talk to them because they loved words just like I did. That's how I decided I wanted to become a writer when I grew up. On Saturdays, Mama and Daddy let me stay at Mrs. Wade's until closing. I helped Mrs. Wade around the store. I watered plants and fluffed the big, comfy pillows where people could curl up and read on the floor. Then Mrs. Wade and I would put the new books on the shelves. Sometimes I open a book, stick my nose in between the pages, and take a big whiff. It smelled like ink and grass and the old clothes in my granny's closet. The crisp paper felt like autumn leaves between my fingers. So a great connection to our new season of autumn. The part I like best about these Saturdays was the end of the day. After all the customers had gone, Mrs. Wade would set up a tray with peppermint tea and butter cookies, the kind with a hole in the middle. We would drink our tea and pretend the butter cookies were diamond rings around our fingers. Then I would read to Mrs. Wade from my notebook. She listened to my stories and poems with her eyes closed. I'd imagine I was a famous author reading to a room full of people. Sometimes after I finished reading, Mrs. Wade would open her eyes and say, "Ah, words are a very powerful gift." Then one Saturday, everything was different when I got to Mrs. Wade's store. Instead of talking to her customers or unpacking new books as usual, Mrs. Wade was reading a letter and looking very sad. She put away the letter and smiled when she saw me, but I could tell she wasn't her usual cheerful self. Later, while we had our tea, Mrs. Wade told me What was wrong? She took my hand in hers, and we sat with our knees touching. Have you ever had a really tough assignment in school, but no matter how hard you tried, you just can't seem to figure it out? She asked. I nodded. Math problems were really hard for me. Well, I've been trying for a long time now to figure out a way to keep the bookstore open, but I haven't had much luck, Mrs. Weed said, sighing. My landlord is raising my rent, and I can't afford to pay the new amount. I may have to close the store. Mrs. Weed sighed again, and I thought I saw a small tear in the corner of her eye. My heart froze mid-beat. Close? No, I couldn't believe it. Why? Why do you have to close the store? I asked, my voice shaking. I need to earn more money in order to pay the higher rent, and there just aren't enough customers for that, Mrs. Wade said. We can get more, I shouted. We'll see, Mrs. Wade smiled a sad smile. We'll see.